And this might surprise you guys, but I actually agree with the Plagman. Hey guys, Turk here, I hope you're having a good one. Just before the Christmas break, The Verge interviewed Valve's Steam Deck engineers and talked to them about what we should be expecting from Valve and the Steam Deck going into 2023. They asked some questions like, what sort of features are they hoping to add? What are some of the lessons learned from the past 10 months? And more importantly, what should we be expecting from a Steam Deck successor? Or how about a Steam Deck Pro? Both Lawrence and Pierre mentioned some upgrades that they would do with the Steam Deck, so today we're going to dissect that interview, and I'm going to explain to y'all how that will improve and impact a future Valve handheld. Now, I don't know about you guys, but the first thing I always notice when I pick up my Steam Deck and start playing is, of course, the screen. And let's be honest, it's not all that great. The Steam Deck's IPS screen only achieves about 64% of the sRGB color range, which is comparable to most entry-level gaming laptops. For the Steam Deck's baseline price of $400, that seems pretty reasonable, but let's keep in mind the Switch OLED version comes in at $380, and that screen looks super nice. Next, 800p, I'm really not a fan of it. 16:10 is a popular aspect ratio, but this limited resolution is nowhere near as popular as 720p HD. On top of that, at 7 inches, it's not exactly that sharp either. Coming in at 215 pixels per inch, it's quite a bit worse than most modern cell phones. And if that wasn't enough, the Steam Deck screen is currently surrounded by black bezels, and they're just hard to ignore. Given the size of the deck itself, the screen is dwarfed by black plastic, which isn't the best viewing experience out there. So how exactly can Valve upgrade the screen situation? Obviously, they could just opt for a higher quality panel, keep the same screen size, aspect ratio, and resolution, but make sure you get a broader color range as well as a much brighter screen, and that vivid option would just look so much better than what's currently there. Fortunately, I think 7 inches is still a great size for a PC gaming handheld. There are plenty of options that are on the market for 7-inch panels, and those would just be a drop-in replacement to what's on the deck. Moving up to an 8-inch screen would be really nice, but I think the deck would be better off slimming down, not bulking up. Now, keeping with the 7-inch screen, I do think they need to upgrade to either a 1080p or 1200p panel. With that resolution bump, rendering at 720p or 800p and upscaling to the native resolution, a la GameScope, is already something that works very well within the current ecosystem. If Valve chooses to not upgrade their screens, there's currently a lot of competitors that have already got this problem solved. Competing devices are already ahead of the game in this department, with 1200p being a popular choice from Ayaneo and One Netbook, while GPD and Ayn favor 16:9 aspect ratios. Many reviewers find these displays to be stellar for a handheld, so Valve can take a few notes and get this upgraded ASAP. Next is the battery, and a lot of the conversation in the Verge article was towards the serviceability of the battery because, according to iFixit, all the glue and just the way it's positioned, it just wasn't that serviceable for most users. But if we're going to be upgrading serviceability, I think it's about time to add some additional capacity as well. And let's be frank, 40 watt hours just doesn't cut it anymore. When it comes to emulation and older games, that can be okay. Without any tweaking, my kids can play Mario Kart 64 for about 8 hours without breaking a sweat. With that type of emulation, the Steam Deck uses about 6 watts of power. But if you want to run full power, 15 watts turns into 28 watts of total system power. As we saw in our Steam Deck TDP video, the deck loves to consume roughly 13 watts of additional power when in full use, translating into less than an hour and a half of gameplay. Just as with the screen, there's many competitors on the market that are already ahead of the game, and they try to balance the capacity, the form factor, as well as the price. Let's go small with the GPD Win 4. It rocks a unique slide-out screen, keyboard, and a 1080p 6-inch screen. Even with this smaller form factor, it can pack in a 45 watt-hour battery, nearly 13% more than the Steam Deck. What about devices with bigger batteries? The Ayaneo 2 comes with a 50 watt-hour battery, which is a 25% improvement. If you're willing to try One Netbook, both the AOK Zoe A1 and the OneXPlayer 2 equip 65 watt-hour batteries. Even GPD's Win Max 2 boasts 67 watt-hours of capacity. That's over 62% more battery life than the Steam Deck, but of course, that comes with a bigger price tag. With the GPD Win 4 on one end and the OneXPlayer 2 on their other, are there any devices that try to compromise and get a balance between the capacity as well as the price? Enter the Ayaneo Geek. Equipped with the same 50 watt-hour battery as its better equipped sibling, this device will most likely match the Steam Deck in terms of price to performance. Of course, we're comparing against the 512GB Steam Deck, but it's entirely possible to cram 50 watt-hours into a budget-focused device. With various capacities at our disposal, how would that translate into battery life for an upgraded Steam Deck? For this, we're assuming 28 watts of total system power. With a 50 watt-hour battery, that will bump battery life up to an hour and 45 minutes at full load. Though that might not sound like a lot, it enables options for additional tuning or budget some extra power for additional performance of a next generation chip. With a 65 watt-hour battery, the deck can achieve an impressive 2 hours and 20 minutes at full load. That's almost an additional hour of playtime from the original deck. That runtime and performance level is a feat that is unmatched by any current handheld that's currently on the market, even with the 6800U processor. So by upgrading the serviceability as well as the capacity, it will put the Steam Deck leagues ahead of all of the competitors when it comes to battery life. So a better battery and screen make obvious choices for upgrades, but in a shocking twist, Valve is not making any plans at this moment to upgrade its processor or its performance targets. Quoting the Plagman himself, I think we'll opt to keep the one performance level for a little bit longer, and only look at changing the performance level when there is a significant gain to be had. And this might surprise you guys, but I actually agree with the Plagman. For now, the performance of the Steam Deck is acceptable. Targeting 800p at 30 FPS is possible in many games currently on the market. As we've seen numerous times here on the channel, the Steam Deck can hit above 30 FPS in many popular titles. Horizon Zero Dawn, Forza Horizon 5, Doom Eternal, Crysis Remastered, God of War, all of these games show satisfactory performance at pretty decent quality levels, and overall it's a great experience. On the flip side though, the Steam Deck is starting to show its age a little bit, and there's some cracks in the armor that current generation games just can't hit this performance level. As we go into 2023, there's a lot of games on the horizon that just are going to increase the graphical load, and they're going to look like complete garbage unless you run it at medium quality settings. And let's not overlook the Steam Deck's Achilles heel, its CPU clock speed. As it currently stands, there's several games on the market that we've talked about that actually CPU bottleneck our experience. Callisto Protocol was released earlier in December, and it's already beginning to push the limit. At medium quality settings, we get an average of 27 FPS with a 1% low of 17 FPS. If we switch over to low, we do get up to 35 FPS and 23 on the 1% low, but that quality just doesn't look good. I recommend sticking with medium quality settings here. Scratching my Warhammer 40k itch, Darktide is another title that cripples graphical requirements. Going at medium quality settings in TAA, we get only 22 FPS on average, and dropping down to low, we still can't hit 30 FPS, only averaging right at 27. Halo Infinite might have fallen off the radar in terms of popularity when it comes to gaming, but it highlights both the positives and the negatives when it comes to the Steam Deck experience. Anti-cheat isn't a problem anymore in this title, which gives me a chance to relive my nostalgia from my early college days. However, performance isn't great, and it hits sub 60 FPS. At low quality settings, we're getting right around 38. Last, it wouldn't be a Steam Deck video without mentioning Cyberpunk 2077. We've already optimized it in another video, but at medium quality settings, we hit 26 FPS on average. And if you're willing to drop down to low quality settings, you're only about to get 34, and your 1% lows are going to make it look pretty choppy. And to add salt to this wound, you can always engage FSR to get a bit of a GPU boost, but it can only go so far. Now, word on the street is AMD does have some APUs that they're working on that are going to be announced at CES this week, but as of this recording, I just haven't seen those press releases. But I'm keeping my ears peeled to the ground for Phoenix Point and Dragon Range, because those are the two processors that could potentially be upgrades for a Steam Deck 2. But even if AMD has some really bold claims when it comes to performance or performance per watt, I just don't think at this low end of a processor that performance bump is going to get us to the next level, and that echoes what Pierre's saying in his interview. Let's speculate a little bit and look to the past to see what kind of gen-on-gen performance improvement we've seen. The 5800U was a very popular processor for handhelds a couple years ago, but it still sported the Vega-based graphics solution. Upgrading to a 6800U with the RDNA 2 graphics, both running at 15 watts, we only saw about a 17% performance gain. Now, if we speculate a little bit and going from a 6800U with RDNA 2 up to a 7800U with RDNA 3 running at that same 15 watts, we might only see about another 20%. Continuing the speculation train, that bumps Borderlands up to 50 FPS, and Cyberpunk can get up to the mid-40s. Forza Horizon 5 can go to 60 FPS at medium detail settings, which is a solid win. Horizon Zero Dawn gets to about 50 FPS, but let's be honest, it doesn't really improve our playability anymore. So unfortunately, it really doesn't bump our performance to the next performance threshold, of course unless you engage FSR. But one thing that could be possible is a 6800U at 28 watts would perform just as good as a 7800U at 15 watts, and that would be fantastic. Of course, that's a very aggressive target to be hitting, but that's the kind of equation that handheld users are looking to see. The same performance at a lower wattage would be an easy upgrade path, but it doesn't get us to the next performance level. So I agree with the Plagman that upgrading to the next generation Van Gogh 2 with RDNA 3 graphics doesn't really make sense, and it's not really a worthwhile upgrade for a potential Steam Deck 2. So for Valve, I think an upgraded battery and an upgraded screen, while still skipping out on the upgraded performance targets, it doesn't really look like a next generation Steam Deck, and it in fact looks more like a Steam Deck Slim. By focusing more on the ergonomics of the device and the serviceability of the device, while of course maintaining the rapid improvements to SteamOS 3, I think Valve has a solid formula in place for an upgraded and more refined Steam Deck solution. As long as Valve maintains the $400 to $700 price point, I think a Steam Deck Slim would be a great upgrade path as we wait for more innovation coming from Valve and maybe some potential collaboration with other vendors out there. But that's all I have to say about a Steam Deck 2. Let me know down in the comments if you guys think I missed anything. Are there any upgrades you would like to see, or do you really want to see more performance out of your Steam Deck? As always, y'all could reach out to me directly over on Twitter. I like to talk about memes and all that good stuff. But guys, thank y'all for sticking to the end of the video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Catch you guys in the next one.